Hey guys, Nova Joe here, and happy Halloween. A couple weeks early anyway, but we're in the middle of October, and I just wanted to do this video to get it out before Halloween so that you guys can see some of the movies and games that I like to play around the Halloween season, and maybe give you all some ideas of games that you'd like to play and movies you'd like to watch. Halloween is one of my favorite times of the year. I enjoy it just as much as I do Christmas, and it's always been a special time of the year for me because I just enjoy fall. I was out today in the yard and looking at the leaves on the ground, and I just love this time of year. I love the multicolored leaves. I love the smell that's in the air. I love the coolness, the coolness of the breeze and everything. I just love Halloween. I've always enjoyed it. Enjoyed trick or treating. Enjoyed scary movies. I've enjoyed scary movies since I was a kid. And so today, guys, I just want to take the time to share some of the movies that I enjoy. Old movies, some newer movies, as well as games. So to start it off, I will jump in here and start showing you some of the movies I like to watch. First off, guys, I'm going to start out with some of my favorites. And my favorites kind of fall in, I mean, not kind of, they do. They fall in the older horror movie category, Halloween scary movie. And these are from a time before I was even born. So let me show you here. To start it off, the movie that's playing behind me right now is the classic Night of the Living Dead. This movie is on the public domain, is in the public domain, meaning that anybody can put out a copy of this movie. So you can find this anywhere at your local Walmart, Kmart, well, I don't even think Kmart exists anymore, but basically whatever your equivalent is to a Walmart that sells movies, you can usually find a copy of this. This copy right here cost me $1 in a bargain bin at Walmart. So if you haven't seen Night of the Living Dead, I highly recommend seeing it. It was one of the very first zombie movies. It's the movie that made zombies famous by George Romero, who recently passed away. So Night of the Living Dead, highly recommend it. By the way, there's a bunch of sequels. Some of them are good. Dawn of the Dead's really good. I don't have that copy of it, but if you've never seen George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, I recommend picking that up as well. Next up, we've got The Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. This was from the Universal monster movie. It's from the Universal movie Monsters, excuse me. You've got Lon Chaney playing the Wolfman. They've got Dracula, the Mummy, Boris Karloff playing, excuse me, I get myself twisted up there. Bela Lugosi playing Dracula, Boris Karloff playing Frankenstein, and I think Boris Karloff also played the Mummy. So, but this is one of my personal favorites right here, the Wolfman. I've always loved werewolf movies, and this is a classic. Next up, we've got another Bela Lugosi movie. I just discovered this movie last year. It is called The Return of the Vampire. And in this movie, Bela Lugosi plays a vampire, but he plays a different vampire. He's not playing Dracula. He's playing Armand Tesla. And he's a typical Dracula role. There's a werewolf in this movie that is not played by Lon Chaney Jr. This movie has excellent haunting atmosphere. It is a wonderful black and white movie, and if you have not seen it, I highly recommend picking it up. This one is not so much a horror movie as it is, it's a detective movie, but it has a very, very classic horror movie atmosphere. It is The Hounds of the Baskerville, starring Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, who also have starred in many other Hammer movies, the Dracula and Hammer Frankenstein series. But this movie, while not a monster movie per se, not really a horror movie, it's well worth watching during the Halloween season because it has magnificent atmosphere. The atmosphere is just haunting. So definitely check this movie out if you haven't seen it. I'll probably be saying that a lot. And I don't know if you can see this or not too well, but the shirt I'm wearing is a Cinemassacre Monster Madness shirt. And Monster Madness is a series that ran for 10 years. That was produced by James Rolfe, and it's on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend either going to Cinemassacre.com and checking out his 10 years of Monster Madness, or going to YouTube and just searching Monster Madness, and you'll find numerous videos. And James goes over. Those of you who may know him better as the Angry Video Game Nerd, but he loves monster movies, and he does a wonderful series over the last 10 years dedicated to monster movies, both old and new, horror movies, scary movies, anything like that. So I recommend checking out the Monster Madness series that he has on Cinemassacre.com, or just searching YouTube for Monster Madness. And this movie is on Monster Madness is where I heard about this movie, The Old Dark House. This movie was made in, if I can find the year on here, 1932. And it is a haunted, well, I don't know if you'd say haunted, but it is the typical individual stranded on a cold, dark night, and the only place they can take shelter is in this spooky mansion that is housed with some of the creepiest people you'll ever see in movie history. There is a woman in there that looks like a man, but is a woman and has a beard. It's creepy. You just have to see it. So if you have not seen The Old Dark House, I highly recommend tracking this movie down and purchasing it. It's an experience. It's definitely an experience. It's only 72 minutes long, so it's not your typical 90-minute movie or 2-hour movie. So it's a quick watch, and it's just a great old-fashioned movie. And another one I want to mention here that I enjoy is Carnival of Souls. It is a very surreal movie of, I don't even know how to describe it, but basically this woman is being haunted by these individuals that she keeps seeing, and she's kind of lured to this carnival, this old ran down carnival, and it's got these very haunting people that are just after her. It's just a unique movie. And if I'm not mistaken, the director of this movie only made this movie, never made another movie after this. And I don't believe that this movie was very popular when it was released. And it wasn't until much later in his life that it gained popularity. And I can't remember, I read this somewhere. I think it was right at the end of his life that his one and only movie ever found any appreciation. So guys, if you know more about Carnival of Souls, please let me know in the comments below. I can't fully remember it, and so I might be saying it wrong. But if I'm not mistaken, it was his only movie, and he never saw the appreciation it deserved until his life was pretty much over. Alright guys, now going in a little different route, but still perfect for the Halloween season, Sci-Fi Creatures. This particular 4-pack has 20 Million Miles to Earth, The Giant Claw, which is hilarious if you've never seen it. It Came From Beneath the Sea, and Mothra. And I don't just mention these 4 movies, but I mention giant monster movies as a whole for the Halloween season. Godzilla movies, old and new. Check them out. They're just perfect for this time of year. Alright guys, now we're going to look at some of the more recent movies. And well, when I say recent, let's say, 80s forward. Oh, before I get into that, let me mention one more movie series that spans from the 60s through the 70s. And that was the Hammer Dracula series and the Hammer Frankenstein series. I briefly mentioned them earlier, but I want to mention them more in depth now. Those are some of the most... Dracula. We're going to talk about Dracula because I've seen more of them than I have the Frankenstein movies. But the Hammer horror series for Dracula is just outstanding. I have it here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. You've got Horror of Dracula. Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. Taste the Blood of Dracula. Dracula AD 1972. I don't recommend that one. That was pretty stupid in my opinion. But all of the ones I mentioned here, Horror of Dracula, Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, and Taste the Blood of Dracula, all star Christopher Lee, as Dracula. And those younger folks here who don't know who Christopher Lee is, you might know him best from The Lord of the Rings as Sauron, the White Wizard, and who was the evil wizard. So anyway, those were some of the last movies he did before he passed away. But he stars as Dracula here with Peter Cushing playing Von Helsing. These movies right here embody what I view Halloween to be. Gothic horror, creepy castles, the typical misty, foggy woods, the muddy trails, the wagons hauling unknowing passengers to their doom. It's the Dracula series done by Hammer, all directed by Terence Fisher, are wonderful, wonderful movies to watch this time of year if you like Gothic horror. These type of movies just prove that you don't need tons and tons of vulgar language and tons of gratuitous nudity to make a scary movie. This movie was scary because of the atmosphere, because of the terror of the evil one who was lurking after you. And some people might view some of these as cheesy, but you gotta look at them for what they were at the time. And if you're looking for a movie that doesn't have all the stuff that you see today in horror movies, the nudity and the over-the-top grotesque violence, as well as the tons and tons of vulgarity in the movies, definitely check out the Hammer horror series. Some of the later releases started to stray a little bit into it as they got into the 70s, but these earlier ones, it was just classic horror that was done by atmosphere and mood. Okay, and as I said, now I'm going to take a look at some of the more recent movies within, when I say recent, I'll say 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Okay. One of my personal favorite series, particularly this one, is Pumpkinhead. This was directed by Stan Winston, who many will know him as a special effects, a costume creator who made many of the iconic monsters that we know today, the Predator, the Alien. Stan Winston, you know what? I'm not sure about the Alien, but I know he did Predator, or maybe he did do it. I don't know. I should have researched a little bit better, but I definitely know he did the Predator. Anyway, Stan Winston, who also did the Terminator, he was very famous. He's passed away now, but this was his very first directorial debut, and this is a chilling movie. It is about I don't even know how to describe it. Basically, there's a man who has a little boy, and his son gets killed. Well, he finds out that there's an old witch that lives out in the woods who can make things right for a price. And I'll just leave it at that. Check this movie out. It is classic 80s horror. It's worth picking up. Also, Sci-Fi. Some of you are going to laugh at me. Sci-Fi did a Pumpkinhead series following this movie. Now, I'm going to scratch Pumpkinhead 2 from the list. That movie departed so far from the story of the first one that it's a completely different tale altogether. So I'm not going to talk about that one. But the movies that take place after the original Pumpkinhead were made by the Sci-Fi Channel. And you've got Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes and Pumpkinhead 4 Blood Feud, all starring Lance Henriksen, who was in the very first Pumpkinhead movie. And while they have some pretty terrible CG in them, they're not bad follow-ups. They're not bad at all, and I did enjoy them. So you can get them relatively inexpensive. So check out the Pumpkinhead series. Okay, I've got a whole stack here, but I'm just going to pick a few more for this Halloween season. I'll save some for next year. But I'll show you another two particular favorites of mine. Actually, I'll show you a few more. Okay, and okay. Now for some more recent movies that are on my list of great scary horror movies. 1408, starring John Cusack and Samuel Jackson. This movie is about a haunted hotel room. And guys, a lot of times ghost movies aren't scary. This one is scary. And it's really good, and it has an excellent ending that I don't want to give away. But basically, John Cusack is kind of a haunted place debunker. He does not believe that they exist. He doesn't believe that this stuff really exists, and he writes books and things about it. Well, he finds out about room 1408 in this hotel and how nobody's allowed to stay in there because supposedly they die. He forces them to let him in by legal matters, and that's when everything just goes crazy, and he has to survive in this room. It is a thrilling movie. It's one that just caught me by surprise. Watch this movie, guys. It is a great current movie. Another one that came out just a few years ago, which I don't know how people feel about it, but I really enjoyed it. It's called Mama. This movie, there's a ghostly mother figure who is taking care of two little girls. And these two little girls are found, and they try to incorporate them back into life, into normal life. Well, Mama follows, and things go crazy from there. Now, another classic and favorite of mine is Stephen King's Silver Bullet. This is based off of one of his books, obviously, called Cycle of the Werewolf, which is more of a novelette, and it's a great read as well. But this movie stars Corey Haim and Gary Busey, and you know how crazy Gary Busey is? Well, he is a lovable uncle in this movie. And Corey Haim plays paraplegic. He can't walk, and so he's in a wheelchair. And his uncle, who's an alcoholic but loves him to death, takes care of him. It just so happens that in his town, well, I'm sorry, I get myself messed up here. Corey Haim lives in this little town, oh man, it's kind of like out of nowhere town. It's basically like if everybody else is in 2000s, this town is 20 years prior to that and still living like it's 1980. So, if that makes sense. So, he just lives in this little town with his family, and he's got this uncle who is an alcoholic but just loves him to death. Well, it just so happens that in this town there's a werewolf, and it's making its way towards the character that Corey's playing, and he's trying to convince his uncle and his sister that this werewolf is real. So, it is a fun movie to watch. The werewolf, I'll just put it this way. My son came in while I was watching it. My son was probably 4 at the time. No, I don't show horror movies to my 4-year-old. But he happened to walk in when I was watching it, and he jumped up in my lap and was sitting there for a minute. I don't know why at that point I didn't tell him to go do something else, but for whatever reason I let him sit there. And he saw the werewolf, and he goes, "Daddy, that's a big black bear." Well, yeah, it is a very unique costume, so I'll just put it that way. Alright, now, the final movie on this list here that I want to show you is a movie that some have heard of, some haven't. It's more of a cult following type movie, and it's a comedic movie, but it's one of my favorites, and this is one on the list that does have a ton of language, but the movie itself is hilarious. It is just hilarious, and that is Bubba Hotep with Bruce Campbell and Ossie Davis. And to sum it up real quick, it is an absurd movie, absolutely absurd, but it is so good. Bruce Campbell is Elvis Presley. Ossie Davis is a black JFK, and they live in this nursing home, and they both still say I'm Elvis, and I'm JFK. So you know, imagine how everybody else around there acts. Well, this mummy starts attacking this nursing home to. I will keep some of it. I'll keep it a little bit more. I don't know how to word it. I just won't give it away, other than saying that there's a mummy who likes to steal your souls in a very uncomfortable way. I'll just put it that way. And it's up to Elvis and JFK to stop him. Bubba Hotep, a funny, funny movie for the Halloween season. Alright, next up, I want to show you a couple TV series that were on back when I was a kid. And you don't see this stuff anymore. You don't see this on TV anymore, and that is so sad. But you can buy them on DVD, and I highly recommend them. Tales from the Dark Side and Monsters. Tales from the Dark Side came out in the early 80s. I remember being a kid and it coming on television, and it scared the willies out of me. But I would sneak to watch. I was one of those kids who was a glutton for punishment. I was scared to death of the horror movies or the scary TV shows, but I wanted to see them anyway. Anyway, when I was probably about 12, 13 years old, they came out with Monsters, and it was a TV series that I used to see late at night. It would come on, and it was kind of like Tales from the Dark Side, but it was more focused on just monsters in general. Another great TV series. You can get these at Walmart. Let me phrase this. I found Tales from the Dark Side at Walmart for $30, and this was recently. I couldn't find Monsters anywhere and had to order it off Amazon. I think I paid about $45 for the complete series. And for the complete series of it, there's 72 episodes. And there's 4 seasons for Tales from the Dark Side, and you get the complete set for $30. Alright, now on to some games. Alright, let's just go ahead and talk about some of the classics that I enjoy playing. For the NES, Castlevania, guys. Everybody knows Castlevania. I enjoyed Castlevania since the time I was a kid. I was terrible at it, but I enjoyed it, and I got better at it. And finally managed to beat the original Castlevania legitimately just about 2 years ago. At the age of 36, I still had, I guess you could say, the hand-eye coordination to do it all right, and I was able to finally complete Castlevania. So check out the Castlevania series on the NES if you get a chance. Another fun series is on the TurboGrafx 16, and you can get it currently on the Wii Virtual Console, and that's Splatterhouse, the original Splatterhouse. By the way, if you're wanting games on the Wii Virtual Console, you need to pick them up now, because they're going to discontinue you being able to purchase them with money, or actually buying or putting money in there as of March of 2018, and then they're going to discontinue the service in January 2019. So if you got a Wii or a Wii U, definitely pick up Splatterhouse. If you got TurboGrafx 16 and you don't mind shelling out the dollars for it, pick up a copy of Splatterhouse. One of the dumbest things I ever did was sell my copy of Splatterhouse years ago, and for next to nothing. Anyway, I don't have it now, and I'll probably never have it again, but I do got it on the Wii Virtual Console. Definitely Splatterhouse 1. Pick it up. It's fun, and it's beatable. Splatterhouse 2, jeez. You got to be a gaming guru to get past the second stage on that. And Splatterhouse 3, it's pretty good. It's more of a beat-em-up type game, but the Splatterhouse series. Now, on to a few more recent games. As I mentioned Castlevania earlier, there was also one on the PlayStation 2 that I really enjoyed. That was Castlevania Lament of Innocence. It is by no means the pinnacle of the Castlevania series, but it is a good one, and it's one I enjoyed. It was their... It wasn't their... No, the N64 version was their first foray into the 3D Castlevanias, but this was one where I feel like they got it right with 3D. That's Lament of Innocence on the PS2. Next up, guys, you got the Resident Evil series, and Resident Evil dates back all the way to the PlayStation 1, so I recommend Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3. Enjoyed all of them. And for more recent Resident Evil games, the Resident Evil Revelation series is really good, as well as the Resident Evil 7 that just came out recently. I forgot to bring that one in here, but I do have that one right now as well. And these games are some of the most enjoyable action games as well as puzzle type games. These kind of start to harken back to the original Resident Evil series from the PlayStation era, because Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 started an action route that progressively, I enjoyed 5 and I enjoyed 6, but a lot of people don't, but I enjoy just straight up action games too. But 5 and 6 strayed far, far away from the original formula, and these start to go back to it. So if you like the original Resident Evils better than the more recent ones, then I definitely recommend picking up Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 and Resident Evil 7. And this one's a fun little jaunt on the PlayStation 4. That's Zombie Army Trilogy. It is a game that is based off of the Sniper Elite engine, and they just swapped out the characters for zombies. Swapped out the Nazi enemies, or Nazi living humans, for Nazi zombies. And on top of that, they have made the atmosphere very, very dark and foreboding, very gothic, and it just has that wonderful foggy atmosphere, gloomy atmosphere. It has that Halloween atmosphere that I like. And this is a game on the Wii U that gets a lot of flack, but I enjoyed it immensely. So if you got a Wii U, I recommend ZombiU. This game was a breath of fresh air for me. It was survival horror like I hadn't seen in years. This game requires resource management. It requires you to watch your back, because you will suffer permadeath on here. So I had a character on here that I'd been using for hours and hours and hours of gameplay. Got real used to this character, liked this character, and I died. Well, when you die, you start as a different character. And now, if you want to get all your items back, you got to go find your now zombified previous character, kill them, and get your bug out bag back from them with all your goods. Otherwise, you lose all the stuff that was in your bag. It's a fun game. It was a challenging game in some aspects. It does make a great use of the Wii U gamepad, except for when you have to use it like a sniper, like a scope on a sniper rifle, or have to use it to man a turret. Then it was kind of wonky, but it was usable. This game is a lot of fun. I wouldn't pass it up. You can get it really cheap right now. Alright, those of you with a PC or an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One, because these are now compatible with Xbox One, Left 4 Dead. These are fun, fun, fun zombie shooters. There is no leveling up. There is no attachments for guns. There aren't unlockables. There's just a great game in both of these. It is fun. The environments that you fight in are fun. The zombies that you fight are fun. Playing co-op, either in split screen or online with others, is tons of fun. I had kind of gotten to where I believed that I needed to have progression in all my games, such as like leveling up or unlockables or items, to feel like I was getting my money's worth. These two games right here showed me that you can have gameplay alone that gives you your money's worth. I didn't need unlockables. I didn't need gun enhancements or leveling up or anything to have a great time playing both of these games. So right now, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 are, from what I've seen, kind of going up in price. So, but you can still find new copies of it at Walmart for $20. So pick these games up if you've never played them. And then another one on my list, I have not beat this game, but I played enough of it that I realized this is a really good game. And for whatever reason, I just never finished it, but that's Fear. You can get it on PC, you can get it on Xbox 360, but it's a fun game. It has a really cool atmosphere, a much more futuristic type atmosphere, but a cool atmosphere with a ghostly presence that is kind of haunting you in a way, and getting into the minds of your opponent, or getting into the minds of your allies and kind of twisting them and changing them. It's a really good game. It's an older game, but it's a good game. Now last up, here's a few games I'm going to try myself this Halloween season. I have not beat these. I've played very little of them, so I really can't comment too much on them, but I would like to play them this Halloween season, so I'm going to show them to you. And the first one is Silent Hill Shattered Memories. I have played through Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 2, and both of them were very enjoyable games. Well, very good horror type games. And I got this one for the Wii. It's got Best of E3 winner 2009, GameStop E309 Editor's Choice winner. So obviously there was something really good about this. I haven't played it, but I'm going to try it out. And then I got this one for $1.79. McFarlane's Evil Prophecy. What I like about it is what it says right here on the back of the box. You will be fighting McFarlane design player characters and monsters, including Dracula, Werewolf, Mummy, Sea Creature, Frankenstein, and Voodoo Queen. That said oodles to me right there. It made me think of the Universal monsters. So I don't know what I'm going to get, but McFarlane's Evil Prophecy. I got it for $1.79. And last but not least, those of you with a Nintendo GameCube or a Wii that can play GameCube games, I'm going to play Luigi's Mansion. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like a Haunted House Mario game, and I'm going to give it a try. So, anyway guys, that's what I plan to do this Halloween season, and these are just some movies that I've enjoyed over the years, and I wanted to share them with you, and I hope you all will give them a try. Hope you like them too. And like I said, try out those TV series if you can find them and want to watch them. They're enjoyable. They're really good. So guys, I just want to say happy Halloween to everybody out there. And just stay tuned. I'll be making more EDF videos before long. And I'll be making some other videos regarding other games too before long. Because tomorrow, I get Friday the 13th. It will arrive from Amazon in my mailbox tomorrow. At least that's what it said. So expect something about Friday the 13th here soon. So alright guys, as always, take care. God bless. Happy Halloween.